If you've ever hired or you're considering hiring a virtual assistant for your Amazon business, you've probably wondered at some point, what if they're doing things that they're not supposed to be doing? So in this video, I'm gonna break down different strategies that you can use to protect yourself without giving over full control. So whether you're hiring your first VA or managing an entire team, these are security systems that you need to see. Before we get into the actual content of this video, this is more of a part 2 to the video that I posted last about when to hire a VA and how to hire a VA. So if you don't already have a VA, make sure you go ahead and watch that video to make sure that it is the right time to do it and that you've done it in the right process. If you already have a VA, then it's not necessary to go watch that video. And if you've already watched it, then obviously it's not worth going back and rewatching it. But this is going to be more of different ways that you can kind of lock down your systems to where you can be sure in the beginning, and as long as you want, that your VAs are not doing anything that they shouldn't be doing. And to start off here, we've got a software that comes with your online jobs subscription. So if you hired your VA through online jobs, or you're going to be, this comes included with your 1-month subscription. If you want to keep using this after the subscription, you won't be able to if you cancel it after 1 month. So if you want to keep using this, you will have to pay month to month or annually. Personally though, I don't think it's worth keeping. If you do this for, I don't know, the first 2 to 3 weeks, or even just like maybe the first week, if you don't get somebody right away, that should usually be enough time to see exactly what they're doing and make sure that you have the right things in place there. So this is called TimeProof, and basically what it is it's a software that is going to track their time, but it's also going to take screenshots of their screen that this system is installed on every 10 minutes that you can view to see, okay, are they actually doing work? Are they just sitting there not doing anything for a period of time? Just kind of keeping an eye on them without a live feed. So for them, they may not know that it's taking screenshots of their screen. It's up to you if you want to tell them that it's going to. I kind of preface this as I just want to make sure that it is tracking the right time for you. You're getting paid the amount of hours that you should be paid. And that way it's more of a security for them in a sense. And it's just kind of got like a description of how it works. So when you open it up, you'll be able to invite your employees if you haven't already marked them as hired. If you mark them as hired on this website, it will automatically show their profile in there. They'll download it through the email, and then they'll sign in with their online jobs profile sign in. Once they do that, they'll just see that box that I showed you just above. And if you want to, you can keep reading this, but I'll show you exactly what it looks like, because I just recently went through a trial period with a new VA, testing them out, seeing how everything was going. And I did recently use this to take screenshots of their screen. So when you go into TimeProof, you can just simply go here to your account, click on TimeProof right here. It'll give you a list of your current employees and all of your past hires. If you do a trial with somebody and don't continue with them, it will show up in your account forever. I have VAs from 2 years ago that have stopped working for me for various reasons that are still in that list that I can see. So inside of each individual worker, there's going to be a calendar, and you're going to see day by day different amounts of time. And because I have my VAs work through their normal 9 to 5 times or around that time, it does overlap. So they didn't work only 5 hours here. It overlapped into Tuesday and Tuesday to Wednesday and so on. But you'll get a total time at the end here for how long that software was active and running, if they keep it open the entire time they work. And this was the final number. You know that you need to pay them 36 hours worth of time. So if you click on one of these kind of, tabs in here, it will bring you to a list of all different screenshots of their screen, and you can see that it is every 10 minutes. So this is 21:35, this one's 22:25, and then 21:45, so on and so forth. So if you want to see this in more clear or just bigger images, you just click on one of them. It will open it up for you, and you can go back and forth between them and check to make sure that they're doing what they should be. If you want to see something in more detail maybe, just so that way it's not as, small as it was on this screen here. So that's going to be option one for this kind of software. There is a second option for something like this if you don't want to keep paying $70 a month, or you don't like the fact that it's only every 10 minutes because maybe you want closer attention onto it because you think maybe they're doing something in between those 10 minutes if they maybe know about what TimeProof is. There is a second option here that I've found. I haven't personally used it, but I've recommended it to some people, and it's more detailed. It does come at a kind of cheaper price in the long run, but at one time it is a little bit more expensive. So it's $100 for the year plan or $25 a month if you want to do that. It gives you 1 to 3 user sessions. So if you have more than one VA, then you can use this still just off of this. If you do have more, you'll have to upgrade to a different plan here where it's $99.95 per server for 1 month or $400 for the year, but you get up to 15 VAs. So if you have that many VAs, this would make more sense for you, and it would be something that you can usually afford if you're paying for that many VAs in the first place. But it comes with a lot of different features here that you can go through, and you can just look up this website if you want to check this out, because I don't have any way to actually show you, a live account. But inside of this software, you get a lot of different things. You can see how long they've been idle for, so how long their mouse isn't moving or they're just not using the computer. You can see events, top apps that they use, and websites they visit. You can track keystrokes. You'll get screenshots also. You'll also get a live feed to their desktop. So if you want to check it at any point and just kind of watch what they're doing, you can do that as well. I don't find this necessary, but to each their own, because what I do, just using TimeProof for the first 2 weeks or so, kind of gives me enough faith that nothing else is going on. The other parts to this video that don't really have anything to do with viewing their live screen are going to be, if you're sharing passwords with them, you should use something like this software here. What I use is called LastPass. It is free. There are other options that you can use like this that are paid, or other free ones. I find this one to be the most useful just for a couple reasons. So there's a Chrome extension that you can have them install, and it will autofill like you see on your side just through Chrome. If you save passwords, when it pops up to say use this sign in, they'll get that as well. There is other things, but the best part about this is that you can create your account, you can create them an account and share passwords that you enter into your account to theirs and not let them see the password. So you'll want to set up both accounts, just because that way you'll have access to it if you need to go into it or whatever. And I think that's always a good rule of thumb, is you create all of the accounts that they will use. I create them a Gmail account. I create the Amazon Seller Central account if I give them access to it. I create their LastPass account, create every account that they would need, even if it's a retail store just to check shipping or something like that. I just create them all for them at once and put them into my account here, share it with their account. They can't view the password, and they use the extension here. But something to note is, with a lot of softwares like this, you can kind of get around it a little bit, or they can. If they enter a password into, say, one of these websites here, like it showed Amazon, if they were to log in to Amazon using this Chrome extension and they're using Chrome, it will usually prompt them to say, in Chrome, do you want to save the password? And if they save that password, they can go into their Chrome settings, they can view the password, what it's set at. So a couple things go with that. When I'm ever sharing a password for them, maybe it's SellerAmp, Keepa, the VPN that I use, I always use a website called Random Password Generator, or just a website like that, and it creates a bunch of random passwords, letters, numbers, capitals, lowercase, symbols, all of that. And I use those kind of passwords for everything that I share with them, even though I use this app. Just in case they do end up saving it, I don't want it to be a password that is the same as what I use to log into Amazon Seller Central, or your banks or credit cards or something like that. So always make sure that you're doing a password just like the one that showed on the screen there. What I tell them is that if they get that prompt, you want to say no or never, because I frequently change these passwords. Some have auto renewals on when you have to change their passwords just on a system. And if I go in and change the password, I update it in LastPass and it transfers over to their account automatically. If they save it in Chrome and I change the password and then maybe I'm offline for a while when they're working, they won't be able to sign into the softwares. So that's a pretty good deterrent on saying that, besides the fact that you'll be able to see the password if you save it. You don't necessarily want to say that straight out. So I always try to kind of word it a little bit differently to be more beneficial than anything else, especially if they're new. If they're more experienced, or like you've had them for a long time, maybe a year plus, maybe that doesn't really matter as much because you have a good trust in them. But when you're doing trials and starting out, it's usually not something that you want to have happen. Something else that you can use to kind of prevent them from doing anything that they should be when it comes to Amazon Seller Central is make sure you set your permissions correctly. So if you go to settings in Seller Central, hover over that icon, there will be an option for user permissions, and then you can go and edit the user for these permissions. And there will be a lot of permissions. And this is actually the settings that I have for one of my VAs who doesn't do any type of admin tasks. He only does sourcing. So I have all of the stuff mostly off. And if you have a VA like that you want to know what permissions you need to set, you can just copy this, because they only need a couple things. And there's a ton of stuff in here. It's pretty much every single thing that you could do in your Seller Central account is an option here. All of them are going to come set on none, usually by default, and you'll have to add them as you go in. So we've got all this stuff, even inventory stuff right here. And this is one of them that I have in here, is manage inventory, add a product, because for some ASINs, it is a little bit weird where you can say that, or it will tell you that you're ungated on SellerAmp, but it's only for maybe a used condition. I've only run into that one time, but because of that one time, I did set this just in case, because if they want to go in, add a product, and see what condition we can sell it in, if it's something similar to that product that I happen to, then I want them to be able to do that. So I don't go and purchase something and then find out, like I did the first time, trying to send it in and realizing that I'm gated in new condition for whatever reason, even though every other product in that brand is ungated for new condition. Something else, selling applications. This is so they can see the ungates and see how many units are required for an ungate. Because if it's something crazy like 500 units, 1,000 units, whatever, I'm not going to bother to ungate that product. But if it's lower, then I will definitely try to get it ungated if it comes up. So this would be something that you want in there also. Manage orders for restocking, seeing what's selling. That's important. And then I think there's maybe one more in here that might have been the last one. But I know that he also has access to see manage all inventory, and that might come with adding a product if there is no other one in here. It's been a while since I've set these, so that's the only manage inventory, add a product. Yeah, it is right there. So I only read add a product, but it is the same one there. So if you want them to be able to check your inventory levels and be able to see when you need restocks, that is something that you're going to want to have set on as well. Everything else is kind of, you can pick and choose what you think is necessary depending on your own situation. But for this type of VA that's only sourcing and doing nothing else, this would be a perfect setup. So that way they're not seeing anything else that they shouldn't be seeing, or have access to something that you don't want them to have access to. The last part of this video is only going to apply to certain people and certain sellers, because even myself, I don't have a VA that does purchasing for me. At this point, it might be something that I consider in the future, depending on how much purchasing is happening, if it's getting to where there's too much going on that I don't have time to do it all. But if you are in that situation, or thinking about that situation where you want to have a VA running your credit card numbers, it's a really good idea to have an employee card. And the only reason I focused on American Express is because in the video where I talked about the credit cards that I use, American Express is one of those two brands that I use, and American Express is the one that I use the most of. So you get an employee card and you'll be able to see what they make charges for in a specific place where it's got additional cards, and you can go ahead and view all of those transactions separately, so you can know if you're still making purchases, or maybe you have multiple VAs, then it will be separated and you'll know, okay, this charge maybe wasn't inventory, who made this charge? And if it's all on one card, then it's a little bit more difficult to kind of figure that kind of stuff out. So you want it more streamlined and more efficient that way by having an employee credit card. And also if something goes wrong, then that card usually is in their name. Even though they're out of the country, you might be able to dispute that with the credit card company and have a better chance of them giving you your money back. There would be really no possibility that you can do anything to them since they're in a foreign country if you were thinking about like doing anything legally, but it would be a better case for you if you had that already set up and something did happen. The only thing that's not in this list of websites that I use, which also isn't legally enforceable, but it kind of gives them a little bit of maybe a mental sense of it because maybe they don't know that it's not legally enforceable, is I do have them sign what I call like an employment contract, and it's basically a non-disclosure agreement. And if you want to do something like that, you can just look up NDA templates or non-disclosure agreement template, and it basically just says things like all of the information that you're given and product leads and everything is property of the business, and you won't share any of it. You won't keep any of it if the employment is discontinued. Another big thing in there is that they won't work for another seller at the time of working for me. And I usually say that that is a requirement during the interviews, because if somebody does have intentions of having multiple jobs, they may not want to continue the interview process. Even though it's not legally enforceable, like I said, they may not know that, and you don't have to say that. You can just say, I have this NDA, these are the requirements, are you okay with signing this? And depending on how they act when you ask that question or their answer, you'll know kind of what their intentions are. And you can still go ahead and have them sign it, so that way it seems legitimate, and it kind of reinforces it in their mind that this is a real thing, even though it's not. I always have them do that, just so that way it gives them kind of an idea of how everything works, and that way I have a better sense that they are going to kind of follow those rules. Hopefully this video gave you guys some peace of mind when either hiring new VAs or managing your existing team. If you have any questions, definitely leave a comment down below. There's also a link in the description if you want my help starting or growing your existing Amazon business. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.